Hey gang, Mark LeBlanc welcoming you back to the Alley Cat Workshop. I need to build an accessory for my lathe. I need to build a steady rest. Let's get started. I'm going to use a series of diagrams to show you how I planned out the ring part of the steady rest. So I first measured the distance from the bed of my lathe to the center of the headstock spindle, which turned out to be 6 1/8 inches. I then drew 2 circles on a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, the larger of the two being the same radius, and the second one being 2 inches smaller in radius. Note here that I wanted a steady rest with double thickness in plywood, so I drew this out twice. Now I hope this makes sense. It will eventually. Now before doing any cutting, I had to do a bit more planning on one of the 2 rings. Now here's the steps. Step 1 is to draw a diameter line from where I wanted the bottom of the steady rest to be to the very top of the circle. Then I set my compass to the radius of the inside circle and place the point where you see reference point A. And with this setup, I could identify points B and C on the inner circle. Next, I drew a triangle joining points B, C, and D, and then found the middle point between lines B to D and C to D. This is all going to make sense in a few seconds, bear with me. I then drew a line joining the middle of B to D with point C and made sure that it extended to the edge of the wider circle. I repeated that step for the line starting from the middle of C to D with point B. So what am I left with? Well, you see those lines that are in red? Well, those indicate where I need to install the arms of this steady rest and what orientation to use. So at this point, I'm ready to make my cuts. First cut is on the table saw. The piece that I'm cutting here includes both layers of the steady rest ring. Then it's off to the bandsaw where I'm using my circle cutting jig to cut the outside circle of the steady rest. And after gluing both layers of the ring, I can now use my jigsaw to cut the inner circle. I can now head over to my oscillating spindle sander to clean up the outside and the inside rings. It's now time to focus on the arms. So I started off by rounding up one of the ends of the arm. This is really more for aesthetics than for practical reasons, but it looks good. Then by using my router table and a 1/4 inch straight cutting bit, I cut a groove through the middle of the arm. Now I use multiple passes to cut the groove. I even flipped the arm over in order to make sure that the groove was perfectly centered. Alright, I'm at the stage of adding wheels to the arms. So I bought these old skates from a thrift store that I do volunteer work at. I paid a total of $2 for these. So I've got 8 wheels to go. I just need 3 for now. Alright, so I did my first arm. I don't know if I need to do all this, but what I did is I took one of the arms, and that's what I'm going to do next. Is I'm going to pierce a 5/16 hole right in the eye where I want it. Then I bought these self-locking, not screws, but bolts. I'm going to tap that in, and then I'm going to go crazy. There's going to be a washer, 2 bolts, another washer, on the other side of the wheel, a washer, 2 more bolts, and all that held by a 3-inch screw. Again, I'm not sure if this is necessary,
a bolt, not a screw, but a bolt. I don't know if this is necessary, but so far, just this one test, you know, it seems to be holding and seems to be doing quite well. So let's do it for the other two. Let's do it. Let's go ahead.
You remember those red lines on the last diagram? Well, I found the center point of each of those lines and drilled through a hole that would allow me to attach the arms to the ring of the steady rest. I even counterbored those holes to allow for a cleaner assembly.
Final step in getting the ring done, I'm going to put one bolt in, one washer, put the final arm in place, one more washer, and to facilitate locking this in place, an eye bolt, wing nut bolt. Okay, so this is pretty much done. Now you'll notice though that these arms are flipping around. So what I've done, there's a couple of ways that I've seen people do this. One is on the second, this is 2 layers, so on the layer that's closest to the arms, and actually cut out the piece out, so that's one way. But frankly, the fastest thing is just to take a couple of placement blocks, a bit of glue, and you need to have lined up your lines ahead of time, but just a couple of brads. There goes one side. And there goes the other. There we go. Loosen it, move it around, tighten it up, easy peasy. So I am almost done with this build, and off camera what I did is I cut a strip that is 1.25 inches wide, 6 inches long, and that is going to sit in the groove of my bed on my lathe. And I've also got a 2-inch wide piece, which is also 6 inches long, and that's going to go underneath. Now, what I've done is I've taken my square, found the middle point on the base here, and made sure that this piece, this 1.25 inch piece, was perfectly square with the rest of the rest. And what I need to do now is just put a couple of bolts through, right? And I've got corresponding holes on the 1.25 inch one. Put a couple of washers, eyelets, and this is going to be pretty much ready to go. What I will do, and I'll do that off camera, is I will add a couple of braces here on the front and on the back just to solidify the joint. But yeah, this is pretty much what it's going to look like. Kind of like it. We'll see how it works. Hopefully it works pretty well. All right, let's try it on for size. Okay, so that fits nice and snug. Get something stuck in there. Let's see. All right, there we go. Okay, the 2 eyelet bolts. Let's see what we can get with that. Okay, so that's hand tightened. That is pretty much rock solid. I think this is going to work rather nicely. think this is going to work quite nicely indeed. Simple, easy peasy, solid. That's all I asked for. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was useful. Put that, little like button, leave a comment. This was done over a couple of days, but I took my time building it. Certainly you could do this within a day easy. I don't see why not. Doesn't have to be the prettiest thing in the world, just has to work. I think it's going to work quite nicely. See you soon.